What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Alright, let's talk about it. Let's talk about bands that play live with backing tracks. So, if you pay attention to anything that's going on, you've probably seen all the stuff with Falling in Reverse about losing their laptops and they had to cancel a show because they couldn't play the show because they had all these backing tracks on laptops, and there was a bunch of people that had kind of, exploded about it and was talking a whole bunch of smack about them and all this stuff and whatnot. I'm not going to get into that particular thing because it's kind of been beat to death. It's just kind of real prevalent and in the forefront of the kind of popular music business conversation at the moment. So pretty much what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to kind of break down what exactly backing tracks are, because I don't think a lot of people really know. I think they see that term backing tracks and they think NSYNC, or if you're old like me, you think Milli Vanilli from the 90s, right? Literally getting on stage with just a song playing and you just and dance and mimic, right? I think that's what a lot of people think backing tracks are, and that's totally not what they are at all. At least not in the context that a lot of modern bands use them in. So my band plays live with backing tracks. And in my previous video where I kind of showed our little drum monitor rig and how our drummer sets all that up and how he uses it, kind of talked about it a little bit, but I'm really going to get a lot more in depth with it here. So I can't show you because I have them on my phone, because that's how we do them live. I just have the tracks on my phone. And our drummer has a click that goes to his ears. And so he has the metronome in his in-ear monitors. Going to the front of house is a line that has supplemental stuff on it, right? So you go to a concert. Here's a scenario. You go to a concert and you see a band playing, and on stage there's a guitar player, there's a bass player, there's a drummer, and a singer, right? There's 4 people on stage, and you hear piano. There's no one on stage playing the piano. Where is it coming from? It's coming from the backing tracks. It's coming from a laptop somewhere off stage, right? You hear an orchestra. You hear strings and brass and woodwinds and all this kind of stuff, right? Backing tracks. The guitar player goes for a solo. He hits a solo. You still hear rhythm guitars playing behind him. Backing tracks, right? That's what most modern bands are doing with backing tracks. Nobody I know is up there straight, lip syncing it, right? It's not happening. You see the singer singing all night long, and then there's a song, and now there's a bunch of harmony parts to the song. There's a choir and harmony parts, right? And the singer has a mic, maybe the guitar player or the bass player has a mic. There's 2 vocal mics on stage, and you hear 6 vocal parts, right? Backing tracks. So we can argue the ethics or the morality of this if you want to, but I think it's kind of a dumb argument. And let me explain why, right? So bands these days don't to just say it how it is. Bands these days just don't make the kind of money they used to. Even big bands don't make the kind of money they used to make. So you got 4 people in a band. maybe they can't afford to bring all that other stuff on tour with them, right? I mean, you really expect a band to be able to bring like a 30-piece orchestra on tour with them and play every show that way? Like, can they really hire another guy just to play guitar on a couple, 3 songs here and there? Why? Like, are they going to hire a piano player to play on 2 songs out of their 12-song set? Why? Right? Are they going to hire a choir to just hang around for the 1 song with the choir part? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? And so you have a lot of people that, how do I say this delicately? You have a lot of people that are older, maybe, and they just don't really have a grasp of this. They really don't understand it. They don't get it. They're like, they hear the term backing tracks. They hear like a band can't play without their backing tracks, and they're like, oh my gosh, what is this, And it's like, well, because that band is bringing you a performance. They're bringing you a certain quality of show. And that quality of show might have supplemental guitar parts. It might have an orchestra part. It might have the piano parts, sound clips from movies or sound effects in between songs. Right? There might be something, you have no idea what's going on with the backing tracks, right? And that band wants to give their audience that performance. They don't want to get up there and just do it with 1 guitar player and 1 singer. And, they don't want to give their fans a C-tier version of what their live show is supposed to be like. They want to bring their, like, A-tier game for their fans, right? So they cancel the show because they lost their laptops, right? And they can't run any of their stuff. And another thing that people don't think about, older people don't think about, is not every band these days plays with Marshall stacks like they did in the 70s, okay? I mean, I do. I like my tube amps. But I have a lot of friends that tour and play in live bands, and most of them don't use tube amps anymore. They use modelers, like the Line 6 Helix, or the Fractal Axe-Fx, or the Kemper. And one of the things you can do with MIDI is you can program scene changes or patch changes on those units. So, say I'm the guitar player, and I have a Fractal Axe-Fx in a rack, right? The laptop, that also has all the backing tracks on it, can control when that unit changes from the clean channel to the distortion channel. It can change from like a lo-fi guitar part to a lead guitar part with delay and reverb on it to a really crunchy, dry rhythm part to a clean part. And it can do all that automated. So you don't have to step on anything on the floor. There's no pedal board in front of you. You hit play on the laptop, whatever software you're running, whatever your DAW is running everything, and you have all your MIDI changes programmed on there, and it's sending a signal to that unit. And you just up there playing. And when the clean part comes up, boom, it's clean. And when the heavy part comes up, boom, it's heavy. When the lead part comes up, boom, you got it. And you don't have to step on anything. You just play. A lot of bands do this. And modern light rigs also run off the same tech. They run off MIDI. So you can program light changes in the same software that you have your patch changes and your backing tracks and everything. So you hit a big heavy breakdown, the red lights come on. You have a clean kind of spacey ambient part, the blue lights come on. Like, you don't have to have a light, so you don't have to have a light person. You don't have to have supplemental musicians to play the background parts, like orchestra parts and stuff like that. You don't have to have background singers. Like, you don't have to have a pedal board. I know a lot of bands that operate like this. So it isn't just like, oh, there's an extra guitar part on that laptop. Like, why can't they just go out there and do it live? It ain't like that at all. They literally can't play their show. The laptop runs the entire show. It runs the light changes, the patch changes for the amplifiers, everything. They hit play, and then think about it like going to the theme park and getting on a roller coaster. You get on that roller coaster, you're on for the whole ride. You can't get off. If you're a band that plays with an automated show on a laptop that controls light rigs and digital amps and all this kind of stuff, when you hit play, you're strapped in. That's the show. You got it timed out 35 minutes, 45 minutes. You know exactly to the second how long the show is going to be. Boom, you hit it, you're in for the ride. And you'll hear a lot of these people that criticize this be like, well, back in my day, real musicians didn't need any of this. Listen, it takes so much more skill to play with a show like that than it does to just get up there and do it live, right? Anybody can get up there and just strum a guitar to a guy playing a drum set. I know a lot of people that can do that. I don't know a lot. I do know a lot of people that can play with an automated show because they've practiced and practiced and practiced to it. But I don't know a lot of people that talk crap about that kind of stuff that can just show up and do it because they're not used to having to play like that. You have to play the same tempo every time you do it. If you get off from that click track, so to make all this stuff work, someone has to be playing to a click track, and that's going to be your drummer. Your drummer is going to have click, a metronome in his ear, and everyone has to follow him. Now, some bands, everybody in the band will have ears. Everyone will have their own click. I don't like having the click. I don't like it. So, I don't want it. I would rather just my drummer have it, and I'll follow him. But you got to be good. You got to be on. You got to be practiced, rehearsed. You have to know what the tempo of the song is, and you have to follow that drummer. Right? If you don't, if you mess up, if you get off, if you get out of sync, those backing tracks are coming in when they come in. Those patch changes are happening when they happen. So if you start playing too slow and you're like lagging and you're like, oh man, the digital stuff is going to happen when it happens. Those patch changes are changing. You better be there when they happen. Right? That orchestra part on the chorus is coming in when it's coming in. You better be there when it comes in. Right? So it takes a lot of practice to be consistent enough to play with a metronome every show and be on it. So the people that talk crap about this and saying like real musicians could play without, they don't know anything about what they're talking about. They don't know anything about what they're talking about, okay? It's so much harder to play with a click and be consistent. And if you've ever been in the studio, if you've ever recorded anywhere, you know that. Bands get together in their little rehearsal space and they practice all their songs and they think they got it. And then when they come to the recording studio, none of them can play in time because they've never practiced with a metronome before. And now they're all freaking out because when you record, 99% of the time you record to a click. That way you can go back and edit things and move things around and it'll all line up in time, right? And a lot of musicians just aren't used to that. They're not used to playing with that level of like discipline and consistency. So that's what backtracks are in like the modern sense today. They aren't, total lip synced faking it, right? So let's see here. I'm gonna try to show you a little bit of what I'm talking about here. I'll show you some of our backtracks. Alright, so this is one of my band's songs. This is the live, this is the session in the DAW, right? So I have this rendered down to my phone for when we play live. So you can see like the track starts. It's just metronome. That's all the drummer hears. But he knows how many of these to wait before the track comes in and all that kind of stuff, right? So let's get to a good part. Here we go. So, like, this is something that's on the backing track. So this right here is going to go to front of house. So that guitar part, that guitar part's gonna happen when it happens. At 2 minutes and 3 seconds into this right here, this is happening. So our drummer has to know exactly how long this is and play with it in time and get to this point here at the exact right spot, right? And why is this? So what's the point of this? The point of this is I'm the only guitar player in this band, right? So, like, take this part right here, for instance, okay? This is a lead part. Well, I'm only one guitar player. I can't play this and play the rhythm part of the song at the same time. I just can't do it. It's physically impossible. So, I have this backtracked and I'll play the rhythm part. It's really not rocket science. So, yeah, like I said, it's not rocket science. Makes perfect sense, right? I'm the only guitar player in the band. I can only do one thing at a time. I can't play that lead part and play the rhythm part at the same time. Since that isn't a very particularly impressive lead part, 3 little notes, whatever it might be, I put it on a backtrack and I just play the rhythm part because the rhythm part's a lot more complicated than that, and so I just play the rhythm part. There's some songs where the lead might be an actual lead part that I want like the focus to be on, so I'll play that and I have the rhythm part backtracked. It just depends on the song, right? So things like leads that are just more kind of like layers and ambient sections where there's still vocals happening and stuff like that, I'd rather play the rhythm part. So I just backtrack those. Something that's a little more like an actual lead part, like you would think of traditionally, I'll play that, backtrack the rhythm parts. So let's wrap this up. That's what backtracks are. It's not NSYNC or Milli Vanilli or something like that. And all the boomers that are just screaming about, bands with backtracks. It's like they don't get it. They don't get it. They don't understand what it really is. They don't understand how it's being used, and implicated in an actual live setting. They think that these guys are up there, like, phoning it in, faking it, like they're playing at the Super Bowl halftime show and it's all on a recorded track or whatever. Like, they think that's what it is, and that's totally not the case. And it's become so convenient and easy to do. They have bands like mine who, like, we're not a big band, okay? We're like a local band. We play, small local venues, and we have the capability to do this. And it sounds good live, right? Like, it doesn't take a lot these days. The technology's there to where it can sound really good, and it can be really convenient, and honestly, it's a lifesaver because it's like, we're a small local band, right? I don't really want to find another guitar player just to do that stuff, right? Why? Like, we used to have 2 guitar players in the band, and the other guitar player is the guy that started the band with me, and he decided to leave, and it was like, we're kind of a tight-knit band. We've all been friends for a long time, and we just really, we didn't want to bring in some random person we didn't know to just play a couple little ambient licks like that, We're not a band that has, real independent dual guitar parts where I would, feel like I really needed another guitar player. Like, most of the time, it's just me playing a part, and then occasionally there's something like that, or maybe there's a song where I do, just a solo in for a 20, 30 seconds or something like that, and I want the rhythm guitar part to still be there while I'm doing it. I don't want to have another band member coordinate someone else's schedule around booking shows and recording time and all that kind of stuff, right? And then paying them on top of it. It's like, this does exactly what I want it to do. And if you're a bigger band, like I said, all the other things we've already talked about, right? Orchestra stuff, sound clips, whatever it might be. patch changes, light changes, all that stuff. So that's what's up with Backing Tracks. Thanks for sticking through these 2 videos about the drill monitor thing and the Backing Tracks. I know it's not like the most like wowing thing. I know people like to look at guitars, and I like to look at guitars too, and we're going to get back to some guitar stuff soon. So thank you guys for watching the channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. That helps a ton. Hit the like button, get in the comments, rant about Backing Tracks and how you think it's in sync up there and not real people. So let's have fun in the comments. And I'll be back next week.